Okay, so the plan is I'm going to go over the Canvas site just in case people are not familiar with it, briefly go over the places that matter in it. And then I'll go over like the week schedule. Basically, I'll be like, here's what you're going to see every week. And then we'll talk about week one specifically, what you need to do. In general, that's how these things go. So every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, I broadcast for like an hour. Few people will drop in at the beginning or sometimes in the middle. If you have questions, it's a good time to talk directly to me if that helps people. But I always do this no matter what, just because then I tape these segments and then I post them in the discussion board. So let's go to the Canvas thing first, because that's actually good about all right, so here we are in Canvas land. It's like Candyland, but different. So here are the things that matter. Homepage definitely matters. Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, it's the first page you see. Okay, modules. This actually is true. So the module page, this is where all the assignments live. So one thing I'm supposed to remind everybody to do is you want to do the student attestation if you have not done that yet. It says it's a quiz, but it's not really a quiz. It's just sort of like I've read and understand, like I'm going to be a good human being, something like that. So make sure you do that. You're supposed to do that immediately if you haven't done it or something. So that's apparently. Okay, so we have the getting started part with some of the like sort of general explanations for things, but also this is where the book lives. And this is where, so all the readings will be coming out of this book. You will eventually do research and have to find articles in the library, like scholarly articles to do for the essay. But all the reading that's assigned to you comes from the book. I'll do the Q&A when we get to the discussion board, because the Q&A forum it's here, but it's also in the discussion board. So it's just another way to ask me a question. Meaning if you're online doing stuff and a question occurs to you, whatever, you can go there and I will be notified and then I can answer it. And so I answer it pretty quickly. So the Q&A world, there's that. Also, people email me. I'm pretty much, well, these days, this fall, I'm teaching a lot of classes. But during the day, I check often. So I'm responding fairly regularly to whoever emails or messages me. All right, so that's the Q&A thing. That's fine. I'm just gonna go straight to, this is where I'll put the recordings of class, like the thing I'm doing now. I'll put it here and also put it in the discussion board. So this is the week one information. So we have this, so the refresh your knowledge is always a grammar thing. So every self-checks sentence fragments. So there's like a little mini lesson about sentence fragments, and then there's a quiz. The quiz does not count for your grade. So I encourage everybody to do the quiz. I mean, it helps refresh your memory about these very just sort of the main things that people sort of screw up in grammar. So I say it's worth it. Go through it, because again, it does not count towards your credit. I'm laughing because I forgot to mention that one time, and so a student was like freaking out because they did terrible on it, and I was like, oh, there's no points. So do it just to help. It's pretty quick and they're pretty short. So that every week there's that. Then every week there's whatever the theme is or the main idea is, right? For obviously the first week's introduction to the course. And then there's a lesson of some sort. So the lesson is the other thing that you read besides the textbook, right? So the textbook will be, they'll give you the pages and what to do. And the lessons, though, are also, I mean, they're not textbook, right? But they're basically all about what you're going to need to do. They're like the lecture part, I suppose, about that, so that you're prepared to do the discussion board and the assignment. So the lessons are good, like, and matter and so on. When you do discussion board, you're going to want to cite from things. And one of the things you can cite from, like take quotes from to put into your answers or your discussion posts, is you can do that with the lessons and the textbook even. So, but in any event, so that's the lesson world. Lightning fast. Okay. So we got the introduction, which is, well, that's for this week. Okay. And then the lesson. And then we have the actual things that have to be done. So this week, and only this week, there are 2 discussions, right? And the first one's just an introductory one, and it's not graded. This is the introduce yourself. And so I already posted my thing about me. And so everybody just stop in. I know it gives suggestions about, I don't know, your program interests and stuff, but it's just like a way to get to know people a little bit. I still totally believe like connecting with people, even though this is like a remote deal, is like crucial for like having for the class to be sort of worthwhile. So, and we have limited tools. So anyway, stop by if you haven't. Introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'll be going in there and responding to everybody's. So that's the introductory post. Like I said, that's only obviously for this week, although it would be a little hilarious if every week we had to introduce ourselves. I mean, okay, maybe not funny, but okay. So then the real thing. So you have a discussion board. Every week there's a discussion topic, and you have an initial post, and sometimes that's 1 paragraph, sometimes that's 2 paragraphs, your initial post, and then you have your follow-up post. So the initial post is where you respond to whatever they're presenting. So for example, this is all about the theme, right? So the theme is medical ethics, I believe. So it's basically just trying to get people to start thinking of and generating ideas. So if you don't know or you haven't read it yet, the entire course is you writing a single paper, okay? Which is great. I mean, because it's an eight week course, right? Which is like half of like a regular whatever college course time. So it goes pretty fast. And so you're only doing one real research paper at the very, like by the end, but all of the weeks are steps, right? So if people are like anxious or worried or like because you haven't done writing for a while or whatever, that's pretty common. Um, just know that you're going step by step into this, and so it's pretty manageable as long as you really like stay on the work, right? Like there's no procrastination doesn't really work well with online classes in general. I've noticed. Um, but anyway, so you're going to pick a subject in this theme, the general theme being medical ethics. And your first discussion post is going to be read the course theme announcement. What is it? So you just you have in your own words, you explain what you think medical ethics is, I guess. And then there are some suggestions that are in the post. We'll look at it in a second, like some subjects that you could actually just do, but you don't have to do the subjects that are there. They're just like suggestions. Um, so then you're like, okay, which ones you're trying to pick 2 ideas. So either from the theme or some that you thought of or whatever, and you're just going to talk about 2 of them. Let me show you the announcement. See what it looks like, the announcement. Now I'm in student mode, I guess. Live. There's a lot at the beginning, I know. November course theme unveiled. So dramatic, that guy, Jason. What's up with that? Okay. Right. So you'll be doing one major argument research, ethics in science, medical practice. And then you see here these 8 ideas they have. And even they're still pretty broad, because what you're going to want to do is find like a topic that you can argue. You're going to be making an argument or taking a position. Some of the subjects, it's easier to think of, what the fact that there are positions. Sometimes it's not as obvious. The idea, like I just looked at the terminal illness and assisted suicide. So assisted suicide is one of those subjects that's often been used for an argument paper just because there are reasons for and reasons against. In any event, so look those over. And again, like I said, these are suggested. If you come across other ones or have other thoughts, you can just email them to me just to check, just to make sure. But I'm quite positive that it would be perfectly fine. Student land. So that's the other thing I was going to show you. Well, I just did announcements. So every week, there's probably 2 or 3 announcements a week. So there's one at the very beginning, and then sometimes I'll post things as we go. But most of the stuff happens in the discussion, which means that's where I put extra things to help people with the assignments. Like, not my lectures exactly, but so here's the first thing. So the first thing I posted is all about creating a research question. So you're trying to think of subjects. One of the ways you try to think about if you could research or argue about it is to try to put the subject into a question format, because that automatically you can start to decide if it's arguable or not. Okay, so the first thing I posted was this meet and greet that was done by my dean in English. And so some of you might have been there, I think, because she's trying to hold it for everybody in this in the English 147, answering questions. And it would be super great if you watched it. I don't think a lot of people watched it the first time she did it. This is only the second time she's sort of done this. So I think she's bummed about that. So anyway, if you could watch it, a little bit of it, that would be cool. It's just her answering questions about this course, right, that we're taking. So anyway, the discussion board. So you will post your initial post. And then the follow-up is you are responding to a classmate's post. And the way you want to do that is you're trying to look for some idea that they have in their post, and you're trying to build on the idea. So they're trying to avoid having students just be like, hey, that was a super cool post, good job. You're trying to be like, I like the idea when you talked about the person, who did the assisted suicide. This subject, can also bring up other possibilities. You sort of develop it a little bit. So they want the response post to be like for real. And that's it for each week. It's 2 posts. Your initial post responding to whatever the discussion assignment is, and then your peer response. And you want to respond to somebody who hasn't already been responded to, right? So if somebody else has already talked or left something for them, just leave your response with someone else. Yes.